The Kelce Brothers discuss player development on their podcast show, New Heights. Yes, Jason and Travis Kelce talked about player development. And shout out to my wife for sending me this. She's an avid listener of their podcast. I listen to it every now and then. And she said, you should check it out. So I checked it out and I was like, whoa, they really dove deep into player development. Now, this episode, I'm going to break the clips into what they said and I'll have my breakdown for it. But the first clip here is Jason Kelce talking about how every team is mandated to have a director of, he called it player development, which it was when he started. It's currently called director of player engagement. But listen here.
One of the first people you're going to meet is a role that every team is mandated to have, which is the player development.
So that's great to hear. I think the CBA has it set up to where every team has a director of player engagement, player development, whatever you would prefer, but someone in the role to help enhance the experience of the athlete there. Now, my take on it is, you all have seen my blogs. I'll leave it in the show notes about the growth of player development, and I'll do another episode with new finds. But I really, truly believe that every football program, if they can't hire someone in staff, they should have player development services for their athletes. This next clip, Travis Kelce describes the importance of the player development role.
Player and best professional that you possibly can. And the player development role goes far beyond more than just, meeting guys and helping them get settled. Yeah. When I first came in, it was BJ Stabler. Now it's Ramsey Robinson. Shout out to Bino. Shout out to BJ. Both of them are been two of the, best people that I've ever met. It's usually a very personable guy that can relate to a lot of different human beings. Yep. And they're just there to kind of make your life easier and help you develop into a professional every in which way possible. And usually that person has all the connects in the city that you need.
So you heard it. Once again, I'm so excited hearing this from the Kelce brothers. Travis says the position is way more than just meeting someone or helping someone and getting someone stable. And I've said this before, maybe not on this podcast, to people who have asked me questions. There are a lot of things, that you have to take care of. Like, you got to take care of some stuff, logistical stuff, administrative stuff. But the position is so much more deeper than that. The next thing he said is this person is normally a personable person. A lot of people ask me, what's the number one skill I need in this role? And it's relationship building. It is building and fostering relationships and growing the relationships with the people who are there, the people that you serve. So yes, he says the person needs to be a personable person. His next point is that this person helps you become a professional in all areas of life. Now, if you've listened to this podcast, you are an avid listener. Maybe you're new to this podcast, but you've heard me talk about developing players professionally off the field. Now, there is an aspect, and I need to do an episode on the benefits of player development on the field because I have seen them in my career, but you're making sure you're helping. So for the NFL level, I haven't been there, so they are preparing to be pros. For me, it's preparing them for everything that's coming their way. The different transitions that happen even while they're playing and the transitions that will happen when they're done playing. You're preparing all around the holistic aspect of the athlete. And then the last part he talked about, he said, is usually someone who is connected. If you want to get in this role, you have to be connected. If you're in this role and maybe you're like, man, what can I do better? How can I get better? Make sure you're connected. When I was on campus, I knew everybody. And I went and introduced myself. They had my number. So if anything goes down, good and bad, it does happen, you have someone to connect to. But you need to be connected in your community, on your campus, in your city. You need to be connected. Now let's move on to the third clip.
Very, very accommodating. And I'll tell you what, man, that role is very underappreciated, very under-recognized, I should say. It's very much appreciated, especially in my book and especially in the Kansas City locker room. But it's it's a position that not a lot of people like to shine light on or just don't shine light on. And it helps out so much for guys that are coming in.
In this clip, Travis talks about how this role is underappreciated and unrecognized. Now, two things I heard in that. And number one, that is true. I've been in the role. A lot of you all listening to this podcast are in the role, and it is underappreciated to an extent and unrecognized to an extent as well. But the thing I heard is he said not by the players. It's definitely recognized by the players. And that's one thing I knew in the role. Yes, administration, yes, my coaching staff, coaches, other departments may have not appreciated what I do or understood what I did. But it was recognized and appreciated by the players. I had a situation where, like, you all can go to podcasts, you can listen. I was terminated without cause. I went down to tell the players that. They thought I was joking. They were a little frustrated. They didn't understand why. And so this role is underappreciated by those who make the decisions in athletics. For me, it was college athletics. And I've heard these conversations by some in the pros that it can be underappreciated. You normally got somebody working by themselves. You know, there's a few people with staffs, but not everybody. You don't get a budget line. I never saw a budget line in my 6 years. So if you're seeing a budget line, congrats to you. And there are just a lot of challenges there. The next thing he said is there's not a lot of light shine on this position. Y'all, this is why the player development pod was created. This is why my company Beyond the Field Player Development was created, to shine light, to bring exposure to this field. This position, this field is very important to me because it is the best way, in my viewpoint, to impact the lives of athletes. I know a lot of incredible individuals in this position. That's why if you go to season 2, you can listen to them. That's why at the player development conference, they're speaking. That's why I do things like this, because I want to shine light on this incredible role. And shout out to Travis and Jason Kelce for shining light on this role. And I know there's a lot of players that understand this role, but this role, coaches, if you're listening, this role is pivotal to the success of your program, of your franchise. Please shine light on this role. This is here. This is my mission. I will continue to shine light on this role, to the people in this role, and the impact that this role can have on the lives of athletes around the world. Woo, I'm passionate, y'all. I am really driven to bring light to this role. But for the sake of this podcast, let's go to clip number 4.
They literally meet. Every rookie has to do a meeting once a week.
Yeah.
And they do it with the player development coach as well as financial advisors 1 week. It might be, real estate people, like anything that you could possibly need to know as an Eagle or as an NFL player. Sorry. And they put this position together to try and educate guys and to help guys get acclimated to a new lifestyle that they have no familiarity with.
In the last clip, Jason Kelce talks about a couple things. He talks about how this position, how this role meets with the rookies weekly for educational purposes. I know when I was in player development, college football, we met with our newcomers once again to provide education. This role is the role that's doing that.
Yeah.
And then also for former players, I mean, guys reach out. This is the guy that former players reach out to in terms of career development opportunities, whether it's going back to school, whether it's doing an internship, whether it's taking different courses that the NFL offers to further your education outside the game so that you're ready to transition. So like Trav said, these guys end up being incredibly important figures in each team's building, and one of the guys that the players are going to interact with the most. So it's a highly kind of unseen role that ends up making a huge impact with guys in the league.
He also talked about former player engagement. This is a role where former players come back and they say, hey, I want to continue my education. Or they say, hey, do you remember that connect you have in real estate? And speaking of connections in real estate, shout out to Terrolyn Nunn, who is a platinum sponsor for the Player Development Conference. Her information is in the show notes. If you're a former player looking at this and you're interested in real estate, different things like that, please reach out to her. But a lot of these former players come back and they're looking for advancements in life. They're looking to connect or grow or continue to be developed, as Jason said. And this role houses that. This role provides that service for the former players. And the final thing that Jason said, which you all know, listening to this podcast, I totally agree with, is he says that this role has a huge impact on the players in the franchise. To the Kelce Brothers, thank y'all so much for highlighting player development. That was maybe a 4-minute snippet of your episode where you all talk deeply about it. And please go check it out. There's more that I didn't cover that they talked about. But thank y'all, Jason and Travis, for highlighting this role. I'm passionate about this role, so I wanted to highlight you all and what you said about this role. And if y'all want to get me on a New Heights show, or y'all want to come on a player development pod, I would love that. Would love that. For you all who are new, maybe you're a Chiefs fan, maybe you're Eagles fan, maybe you're one of the 92 percenters, as they say, from the New Heights show. Check out these videos. What is player development? My playlist here about the questions of player development. And if you're a coach, here's Head Coach's Guide to Player Development podcast there. Thank y'all so much. Check it out. Can't wait to see you. Like and subscribe. Thank you for visiting.